Hi there, Cheryl Sheridan coming to you from CherylSheridanWellness.com and simply Strong Wellness on Facebook. You can find me there as well. So today I wanted to talk to you about generalized anxiety, health anxiety, panic disorder, and adrenal fatigue. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it's something that I'm going to share my personal story because I happen to go through all of them during this summer. So I want to give you a little bit of background. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety, panic disorder, and health anxiety when I was 19 years old. So I'm very familiar with all the symptoms and how to get over it. I then again went through it again when I was in my early 30s and dealt with it again. So earlier this summer in June, when I started to not feel so great, I was very familiar with the symptoms but I lived a much different lifestyle. So I was a little surprised that I was, feeling this way. I went to a naturopath and because I do live such a clean lifestyle, I wanted to try to find naturally why I was, I was feeling off, I was feeling tired. And she took a look at all the supplements I was taking, the type of diet that I eat. I exercise daily. So she was a little perplexed at, why I might be feeling that way because all my blood work came back okay, my thyroid was good. I am going through menopause, but that didn't seem to be, there was nothing crazy off there. And so they decided to add a lot of omegas because I was lacking there. So I started taking omegas. However, my symptoms started to get worse and I kept pushing myself and I did not listen to my body. So I kept going and thinking that I was doing the right thing to my body, where I started to definitely just crash and burn. So I went to my general practitioner in hopes of seeing if they had another angle that they thought that might be going on. And they really thought that it was just my anxiety coming back as it did when I was in my 30s, and they treated me with medications. So they urged me to go back on medications because I was so past the point that it seemed to be the only thing, because I was doing everything else right. So it seemed to be the only thing that made sense is for me to go on medications. So I went on medications on and off and tried to really kind of get myself back on them as I did in my 30s over a period of a couple weeks. And then they added another one. And within a couple days, I went through a horrible toxic reaction and I became very sick. And at one point, I was up for 48 hours. My body was in such a horrible state of distress. I was up for 48 hours. And I decided I had to take myself off. I could not be in that state anymore. So I had to figure out what was going on. So in the midst of those 48 hours, I did a lot of research online and decided that I needed to figure out what exactly was causing it. Now, we already know there's a mental component. We already know that there's a reason that you suffer from anxiety and panic, from thought patterns, and some of it is chemical makeup as well. If you have a predisposed genetics, that you might have it a little, like it might be easier to fall into those patterns, which I do have. So I already knew that part and I already knew how to take care of that part. But what I didn't understand, and since I am such a researcher with my nutritional therapist business and my body business, I wanted to figure out what internally was going on to create all of these anxiety symptoms. And I started following someone who had gone through literally to the T what I was going through, and they talked about adrenal fatigue. Now, I had never heard about anything about adrenal fatigue. So I had no idea what it was all about. I didn't understand. So I started just to see what it was. And there it was, what the adrenal glands were. They were the small glands that sit on top of your kidneys that are your survival gland. So it has to do with the hormone that produces the cortisol and our stress response, our fight or flight, and the other hormone that regulates your blood pressure. So that is its job. So when it breaks down, it can't do its job effectively. And it comes out, and it comes with all these other symptoms once you hit total adrenal fatigue. And those symptoms are things like insomnia, and you are achy, you are fatigued all the time, you have terrible brain fog. I had awful brain fog. My friends would tell me that they told me something or they wrote it in a text, and I said, no, I read that text and it said this. But then when I went back and actually read it, or I read an email again, or I read something, they were right. My brain was not processing things correctly. I couldn't concentrate. I wasn't able to teach my classes effectively. I also had low tolerance. Thankfully, no, not really low tolerance for my kids, or maybe they will tell me that I did. But I was having low tolerance for negativity, where I usually kind of let other people, if that was their thing, then then that was on them. But I really started to have low tolerance and really started to take on a lot of that negativity and stress myself. Also was dizziness when changing positions, breathing issues, and sinus issues. So I had all of those symptoms, and I said, oh my gosh. And it made sense, knowing that my anxiety was so bad. It was creating my cortisol levels not to be great. And so of course it was gonna deplete my poor adrenal glands. So I said, okay, if this is what I have, then how do we fix that? So once I figured out that's what I have, and just imagine, I had all my anxiety symptoms, which health anxiety symptoms are terrible. And if you want to read more about all those symptoms, and they were a lot, I did a blog on that, and I'll put that link below. And then I had that and the adrenal. So I really felt terrible. So I had to understand what to do. So the first thing I need to do is rest. I had to take a leave of absence from teaching fitness. I had to just stay away from doing much of anything and just doing a lot of rest. And even though I couldn't sleep because I had terrible insomnia, I still just had to rest and just try to calm myself, calm my mind, calm my body. And then I had to move my diet from more of a raw diet to more of a warm diet. So I did start making bone broth. I have the recipe for that too. I'll put that below. Started making bone broth from grass-fed beef bones. I started drinking that every day. I started making sure my vegetables were steamed, like warm foods, warm oatmeal. So oatmeal, like warm whole grains. So I really started to make sure that everything, my warm water, warm lemon water, everything is warm. So I added that. Then I added some supplements, some important supplements, like I kept on with my omega-3s because those are so important. So that omega-3 fish oil that's lemon flavored, so yummy, crazy as it may seem. Magnesium citrate, vitamin D, B complex, a really good probiotic, ashwagandha. So I started doing one by one because I didn't want to just pump my body with all kinds of different things because I was having such a trouble processing things, in a big way. So I started to see some improvement after a little over a week, and then 2 weeks, and then as I've gone on, I've gotten, I've been a little stronger. I also, the other thing you need to, do is mind-body work. So meditation and stretching and resting in between, any kind of physical activity, any walking. And definitely massage is good, acupuncture, Bowen therapy. I'm going to do my Bowen therapy soon appointment, so I can't wait for that. So those were the things that I did to start getting better. I am not 100%, but I'm getting there. But I want to share with everyone because I know that a lot of people suffer from things that they're just unsure of. And adrenal fatigue can also come from thyroid issues or diabetes or a poor diet with lots of sugar. It's in my blog. You'll see my blog below that you can see the other things that of causes of adrenal fatigue, and then you need to go see a doctor. I prefer maybe a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath so they can help you get on your way to a better diet, better everything. And of course, I'm here to help as well, because this is just what I do, and try to get to the root of all different problems. Once everything else is ruled out and you're healthy, you just can't figure out how to get to the next step. So I invite you to share this with anyone who it would help, and I hope that this has been helpful to you. Would love for you to let me know if there's any other topics that you'd like me to cover, because I'd be happy to address those as well. Have a great day.